It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we got our left hands up because, indeed, the Commanders have given us the most improbable of Victory Mondays, Anthony. There was a time that we didn't allow you to go to important sporting events because you were seemingly cursed. The curse of Anthony Haney. You have been to 2 Commanders games this year, right?
I have indeed.
Tell the audience which 2 you were at.
I was at the Bears game.
How'd that end?
It ended with a Hail Mary walk-off victory.
And
then I was at the game yesterday against the Eagles.
How'd that end?
It ended with a Jayden Daniels to Jameson Crowder back of the end zone touchdown as a dub.
I'm not saying that if you don't have tickets for Sunday's game where Anthony will be in attendance,
Yes, sir.
And Sunday Night Football, that you have to buy them. What I am saying is that it might be a good idea. As for what went down yesterday, you know how we get things started on a Misery Monday, and it's even better when it's a Victory Monday. It's time for First and 10.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
And just boom, put it right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
Let's dive right in with 10 observations from what was, I feel like I've said this a lot this season, one of the wildest football games that I have ever seen.
Number 1.
Man, the way you bridge a gap between talent and winning. Your team, your roster on paper should be a 6-7 win team. And I don't know, let's say you have, with 2 games remaining, 10. Is with situational excellence. This team, in key situations, was not perfect yesterday. End of the half, Jayden throws his first pick. End of the second half, not quite the bitter end, but the end of the second half, what should have been their last chance, he throws an interception. Uncharacteristic for him, but it happened. And there's a couple of other key moments where you'd like to see some better play, but that's the NFL. But by and large, this team, in the moments, what they like to call winning time moments, where games are decided, is unbelievable. They're so well prepared for those moments. And, Dan Quinn had an aw shucksness to him about this story. But on Friday, they ran the same exact play that they had the game-winning touchdown to Crowder on. And while the play is designed for Ertz and mostly goes for Ertz and has on a couple of occasions this year, on Friday, for whatever reason, it was run against the same coverage, and the ball went to Crowder. They line up in the game on Sunday, game on the line. They've just spiked the ball. By the way, perfect execution on all of that. They spike the ball. They get lined up. Lo and behold, it's the same exact coverage. And Jayden, without hesitation, stares down Jameson Crowder, rips a ball to him up the middle. Bang, bang, touchdown gang, ball game is over. It was the same coverage. It's funny how it works out that way. That's basically what Dan said. Oh, it's funny how it works out. It's not funny. It's not coincidence, man. Take ownership of that, Dan. Y'all were prepared. Cliff and this offensive staff, we're going to talk about it later in this First and 10, but they were prepared for Philadelphia, which is saying something because they were very unprepared the first time they played. A lot to do with the short week. Cliff put too much in. They didn't own anything. They owned the stuff that they did yesterday in especially third down, especially fourth down, although that was much more Jayden making plays. And obviously the red zone, they were sensational. So to hear Terry tell me after the game, oh, that drive was just like practice, that tells you just how prepared this team was for that moment. And at times they haven't come through in some of those this year. They've come up just short. They haven't made the plays, but more often than not, they have. And when games are decided in the margins, this team practices in the margins. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And by the way, in order to do that, because they get the same amount of practice time as everyone else, they make the game really simple in the middle. And the fact that they can keep it simple while be as effective as they are, and then dedicate the time and energy to the margins, It's a well-organized team. That's a lot on DQ as a head coach who has been there before and had a plan when he got the job the second time around of how he wanted to run the football team.
Number 2.
The phrase, "this guy is a winner," gets thrown out a lot. I cannot remember an NFL football player this young in his career, certainly, but outside of like a Mahomes, that is just more emblematic of that dude's a winner than Jayden Daniels. This guy figures it out in a way that is so rare. And Mahomes has this. Like, this is why Mahomes is great for all the other things. And Jayden is also supremely talented from a physical gift standpoint. The liveliness of his arm, obviously the elusiveness that he has with his legs, his decision-making. There's a ton of stuff. But to know which tool to go to, which club to pull out of the bag at which time, that is kind of the Mahomes special, right? Pat has this incredibly lively arm. You can throw it short. You can throw it deep. You can throw from any arm angle. He can make any play at any time. But the moment calls for me to do this right now. So I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this because it's a this moment. Oh, next fourth and whatever, third and whatever, key moment. Got to have it. No timeouts. It's a that moment, and I'm going to do that. He just always makes the winning play. And Daniels feels like one of those guys in a way that is truly, truly, truly rare. A couple of examples from the game. There's the obvious of the fourth downs, right? 4th and 4, he gets 5. 4th and 11, he gets 29. But there is a play with 1:06 to go where they run a quarterback draw. Or I should say they run a quarterback draw. And it should be a gain of 2, 3. And instead, he hits Jalen Carter with the back juke, like the Reggie Bush San Diego State back juke, one that would make Chris Berman go, "Whoop!" I was hoping my voice would cooperate better than that. Anthony, do you have the actual drop? Did we ever wind up pulling that?
Yeah, I put him in the folder.
Oh, we got to get it because this play deserves it. I mean, the juke that he hits, and it's not just on anyone, it's on Jalen Carter, and then I got it, Ant. He hits the what on Jalen Carter. Man, that is a special play. But that's one that anyone can see. Here's one, Anthony, I'm curious if you remember this, and just you see how important it is. 2 plays later, they run an RPO. This is down in the red zone. There's like 30-something seconds to go. They run an RPO, and Jayden decides he's going to throw it. So RPO, run pass option. Run option is maybe there. Could have been a nice little gain. Instead, he goes for the throw. Problem is, the entire right side, or someone on the right side where he's looking to throw it, misses the call. He turns to throw. There's no one looking for the football. So I don't know whether it was supposed to be a bubble, a quick slant, whatever, but I think all 3 dudes went to go block. Someone's got to be the guy who catches it. And that play with quick pressure, which there is, should be a -3. That was a 2nd and 3. And let's say it's even a -5. That 2nd and 3 becomes 3rd and 8 if he takes a sack there. Instead, he instantly recognizes, oh, God, I'm in trouble. And he runs forward, kind of behind B-Rob, where B-Rob would have run if he had handed it off, and gains 2 yards. It's 3rd and 1 instead of 3rd and 8. They run B-Rob, spike it. First play after the spike is the touchdown. That little thing, that winning play of turning -5 into +2 is the type of margins that I'm talking about when you talk about this team wins and makes winning plays in the margins. And some of them are planned because they run routes in certain situations. You think of the play right before the Hail Mary against Chicago, like on and on, the list of just perfectly executed plays in key moments. That's not perfectly executed. In fact, that's a botched play in a big moment. But Jayden makes it right because that is who he is. That is the specialness of him, which leads us to something that I said on Friday.
Number 3.
That thank God they went with. Anthony, what did we say at 6:30 on Friday? We got done with pick 6. We were like, man, that was really hard. We don't talk about pick 6, our quarterbacks in the pick 6. Let's talk about Jayden. And what I say about DQ and how I wanted him to manage this game.
He needed to be aggressive.
Needed to be aggressive. Needed to understand, like, hey, you're the underdog here. and he needed to play like Jayden Daniels was his best player.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did he. 4th and 11, we're down 2 scores. 3rd quarter, let's party. I trust the kid to make it happen. 4th and 4, 2nd quarter, still early. No one's going to get too mad at you if you punt there. No, like we need to go. They played this game like Jayden Daniels was their best player, and they put the ball in his hands in key spot after key spot, and he delivered. And that is how this team is going to reach the absolute peak of his powers, not only this season, but hopefully long into the future, a future that will hopefully include many playoff appearances, one that we hope includes Lombardi trophies. But just for right now, to see them put the faith in him like that, to manage the game the way the game demanded it be managed, that is a great job by DQ. It was a great job by Cliff. They didn't mess around with the running game more than they had to because they realized it was just not there. They trusted the rookie to get it done, and by golly, he sure did. When we get back, more on the Commanders' offense and some really cool details from Cliff Kingsbury's day, plus how the defense turned it around and finally stopped Saquon Barkley in the second half. It's 1st and 10 to get us started on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're taking your calls at the 4:30 mark today, where we will do Tell the Truth Monday. Also, before we resume our 1st and 10, it feels worth mentioning, Anthony, I know we typically save them for Tuesday with Mitchell. How quickly could you pull up the air horns? Because this is an air horn size announcement.
I can put them up real quick.
All right. I think you can even we can hold the 1st and 10 music. I should have said this earlier in the show, but I mean we're only 18 minutes in, so I'm not that far behind. But Anthony, can I get some air horns, please? Exclusive interview with Terry McLaurin in an hour. I caught up with Terry yesterday in the locker room. He gave me about 5 minutes talking about the record that he tied yesterday and what this season has meant to him. It's an exceptional chat, not because of anything I did, because Terry's that damn good. And we're playing it for you an hour from now. But wait, there's more, Anthony. Can I get the air horns one more time? 6:30 today. We will have a one-on-one exclusive with Jameson Crowder, who caught the game-winning touchdown, of course, yesterday. So, Terry, 5:15. Jameson, 6:30. I think, Anthony, we should probably schedule some Odyssey app alerts for those things. 5:15, 6:30. Terry, J-Mo, what up? Holler at your boy. This is how we do it. Happy holidays from me to you. Okay, Anthony, let us resume with 1st and 10. We pick up with numero 4.
Number 4.
The Commanders' offensive staff was all over some of Philly's tendencies in this game, and they used that knowledge to score points and keep drives alive in the biggest of spots. Philly played dime for like 3 snaps in this game, and I'm pretty sure 2 of the big plays came on when Philly was playing dime. A dime, a.k.a. 6 defensive backs. So in Philly's case, the way they run it was with 4 corners and 2 safeties. And it seemed like they wanted to play it, not against a particular personnel grouping for Washington, but they liked certain calls that they wanted dime on the field for like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, kind of 3rd and medium type of range. So the Commanders early in this game get a 3rd and 5. The Eagles run their dime package out there, and the Commanders just run the ball on that light personnel for a 1st down. Like, okay, fine. You want to play 6 defensive backs and not have nobody in the middle of the field? We'll run a halfback dive or inside zone for 5 yards on a 3rd and 5 and or a 3rd and 4 and get a 1st down. So that is one situation where, based off down and distance, I think Philly had a bit of a tendency, and Washington found a way to take advantage of it. But the even bigger one, the more important one, is in the red zone. I mean, they manipulated the hell out of some dudes down in the red zone. And the thing I really like about Cliff in the red zone in this game particularly is a lot of teams in the red zone will just like run their stuff, their red zone stuff. And their red zone stuff is, hey, let's give the quarterback multiple options. He's going to drop back, and we're going to run a couple route concepts, and we're going to hope that somebody wins. And we like this against quarters, or we like this against whatever, but if teams play it well, then it's not the hardest to cover. You wind up almost begging for a second action where it's covered, now my quarterback is running around, and somebody shakes loose. It becomes scramble drill. Cliff, the way he called the red zone stuff in this game, was 100% in on let's put one defender in hell, or let's put one part of the field in super conflict and know that we're going to wind up with a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1, and we're going to wind up with a dude popping open. It makes it simple for Jayden, and if all of a sudden they do cover it right, they pass the thing off, or they trick us into coverage, like, okay, then Jayden will have to run around and make something happen. But their first touchdown comes on like a fake, or the first touchdown to Crowder comes on like a fake screen. They do a great job getting OZ isolated on the one late. They put a really intricate detail on the game winner where it's a route concept that's very, very common, but because they flip the tight end and the receiver, so Crowder is inside of Ertz. Typically the tight end is the guy closest to the offensive line. Instead, they put him in kind of the slot and Crowder next to him inside, and that causes Zach Bond, a linebacker, to be on Jameson Crowder. That's a good advantage for Washington. Bang, bang, touchdown, game over. So the ability to understand what Philadelphia was doing defensively, how they wanted to manipulate it, how they wanted to test it, even that go ball to Terry. Like, to get that on Kenyon Mitchell, to have that much space, you got to know what you're getting. And they did. They were all over it. And that is just part of what I want to do in terms of heaping praise on Cliff Kingsbury.
Number 5.
Cliff, in general, just showed something. I've talked about it a ton this year. Cliff is so competitive. He just refuses to be like, well, this is the game plan. I hope it works eventually. He will find something eventually. And boy, did he. Because this running game was bad. Jalen Carter was a monster. You had Bond is like blowing things up left and right. They got dudes running all over the place. DeJean, like, even when they got some good runs, I mean, the halfback direct snap thing was a good, solid carry until DeJean punches it out of B-Rob's hands. Obviously, B-Rob at that point is kind of fighting his confidence. First 2 fumbles he's lost all year, both come in the same game. And so what does Cliff do? He dives all the way back into his air raid bag. The Commanders have barely run 10 personnel this year, a.k.a. 4 wide receivers, no tight ends, and 1 running back. They ran it like 3 or 4 times in this game, including the one play where they just pushed the receivers all the way out to the sideline. So let's just create as much space in the middle of the field as possible, which guys do all the time in college offenses. And then let's run the quarterback. And that wasn't a zone read. That was a quarterback power. They pulled 2 offensive linemen out in front of Jayden and just said, our best player is the only dude who seems to be able to run it right now. So we're just going to create as much space as possible, get him with 2 big hog mollies out in front, and run. And that was one of their better run plays of the game in terms of design. There's a 3rd and 7 in the first half where it looks like they run a quarterback draw. It's not quarterback draw. It's quarterback trap. So they let Jalen Carter come up the field and like crisscross the guards. So Nick Allegretti gets a running start into Jalen Carter. Jayden sneaks right inside that block. There's nobody in the middle of the field because by doing that, Tyler Biotish is the center, also gets a free release up to the second level. He doesn't even bother with who's in front of him, whereas quarterback draw, you kind of fake the pass set, whatever. No, he's able to get to the second level. You trap Carter, and you let Jayden do the work. And they get a first down out of that. So the creativity, again, on display from Cliff Kingsbury. Just some really, really good stuff that what came through in big situations.
Number 6.
In general, offensively, this game is emblematic of the NFL in 2024, where explosive plays are king, and you can overcome inefficiency and big mistakes by just making big plays. And that's, by the way, how the Eagles normally play. They are not a pretty offense. They will run the ball for 1 yard all the time with Saquon. They will have Jalen Hurts stand back there and take a bunch of sacks. He will throw the ball to the wrong guy, miss a big opportunity. But then he makes it. And then Saquon busts a 60-yarder. And then they go for it on 3rd down and 4th down with the tush push, and they extend drives. And that is how the Eagles are one of the best teams in football. And the Eagles couldn't do that yesterday because Kenny Pickett was in the game, not Jalen Hurts, while the Commanders, 4th downs, conversions, were good, generally speaking, on 3rd down, converted in the red zone, and they hit the big explosive to Diami out of their own end zone. They have the big explosive to Terry for the touchdown. They get the gift of an explosive when Philly's got too many guys on the field and runs a guy off. They're in man-to-man coverage, and nobody picks up Olamide Zaccheaus, and so Zaccheaus is wide open and then shows a great finish to get into the end zone. Like, big plays rule all in the modern NFL. You can turn the ball over. You can play like crap down in, down out. And that's not how I would recommend it. I would not describe what the Commanders did yesterday as winning football, but they overcame it with big plays. And that being aggressive in that way should inform how Washington plays the rest of the season.
Number 7.
Defensively, it's hard to overstate how important the Hurts injury was because the Eagles absolutely cooked early, thanks in part to Jalen Hurts' scrambling ability. And even though Saquon is Saquon and you're scared of him, you still play against the Eagles with a light box. And you say, hey, if you guys want to run it, go ahead. That's better than big explosive passing plays to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And that strategy gets really stressed when you're already light trying to cover the best offensive line in football in Saquon Barkley while you're worried about Jalen Hurts pulling the ball and running the other way. And once you lose that threat, it becomes a lot easier to go hard at your assignments, and you're not that scared of the play action pass in the boot. You're not that scared of not having enough guys in coverage because you just play with a heavier box and say, Kenny Pickett, go ahead, beat us. And that's what they did. The Commanders played 0 snaps with a heavy box in the first half. They played 35% in the second half. Talk about finding a way. Schematically, not to mention the execution, hell of a job by the Commanders defense to stop the bleeding and turn it around, even if it took a quarterback change. You play the game that's in front of you. They did.
Number 8.
Now, there was a interesting spot defensively, which was Marshawn Lattimore, who had a very different day than his Commanders debut in his Commanders home debut. Of course, in his debut, the Saints didn't target him once. He was targeted against the Eagles as A.J. Brown picked up 70-plus yards in PI penalties. Definitely worth saying. I didn't love the calls on most of them. I think there was one that I was like, yeah. There's one that should have been like a mutual PI because Brown had his fingers inside of Lattimore's chest plate and is yanking him to the ground as Marshawn's grabbing A.J. Brown's arm. And then the last one I thought was just a plain soft call. And I didn't think there was a lot of contact. He tripped. They got their feet tangled at the very end after the ball was completely out of play. And the referee's like, yeah, we're throwing it. I was like, what are we doing? But Lattimore never stopped competing. He never stopped talking smack. He never stopped playing hard. He never stops, not just in the game, but in individual plays where Brown beats him on a slant and he's able to rake the ball out late, or other plays where he's able to get the ball out late. And that type of competitiveness, that type of juice wears off on your teammates, and you could feel his energy in that game yesterday. Even if at times it was chaotic, even if at times the play was not good, you see the dog that is Marshawn Lattimore.
Number 9.
Speaking of dogs, oh my God. Frankie Louvu was a maniac yesterday. And obviously he turns the game around with that interception where he baits Kenny Pickett into it and does a great job. You know, I was giving Frankie a hard time, like in a very joking manner last week because he had a ball hit him in the face mask and it's like, hey, dude, you got to catch it. And he knows that. As Joe Witt's been on them all week long about, hey, we got to convert our turnovers. And Frankie did. Got that pick, had some pressures. And I think the biggest thing is the key to their defense is the unpredictability of Frankie Louvu. The fact that he could be on the field doing anything at any time. They rushed the ball 34 times yesterday, did Philly, and then they dropped back 40 times. In those 40 dropbacks, Louvu was in coverage 19 times and a pass rusher 21. Hey, our offensive game plan, we got to make sure we know where 4 is at all times. We got to make sure we account for him. If that's how you start your offensive meeting, and defensively it's like, hey, we're going to make sure they have no idea where 4 is and what he's doing at all times, makes playing offense kind of hard. And while obviously Philly did not have a bad day offensively yesterday, I think it's worth pointing out the challenge that Frankie Louvu presents opposing offenses, and he certainly fulfilled his role yesterday.
Number 10.
And last but not least, the field position game yesterday. The Commanders, again, were fantastic, and Luke McCaffrey was awesome returning kicks. So that is something to look forward to continuously. I think they can also get him the ball more on screens. He had a 13-yard gain yesterday in a big spot. Hell of a block on that play by Zacchaeus, by the way. Just planted his dude. But in the kick return game, to just consistently have good field position, and especially in big spots. They start that last drive at the 43-yard line because Luke has a really nice return and Philly commits a really dumb penalty by leaving early on the kickoff. So the number of times that Luke won the field position battle yesterday was definitely a big impact in the game, and he deserves a lot of credit and a shout-out for that. That's First and 10 here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, your calls. It is time for Tell the Truth Monday on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app on a Victory Monday / a Tell the Truth Monday here on the Team 980. And we can take your calls at 301-230-0980. Also, I'll peel through the YouTube comments here. At the Team 980, where we are streaming live. Again, coming up at 5:15, you'll hear my exclusive one-on-one conversation from the Commanders' locker room last night with a somewhat emotional Terry McLaurin. Not like he didn't break down in tears. I don't want to oversell it. But just being with him and talking to him for quite a bit last night, in this 5 minutes or so, on tape, if you will. He's definitely living in the moment, and it's really, really cool to see. So you'll hear from Terry coming up at 5:15. Also talk to Jameson Crowder after the game. That conversation you will hear at 6:30. Right now, let's go to the phones, though. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Leachy. Leachy, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't have to say much. I just had a message for the nation. The real Redskins, Washington FT football team, Commanders fans, you could just call us burgundy and gold if you want to. This is for the real diehards. I got a lot of family. I'm calling from Maryland. I got a lot of family in Delaware, South Jersey. I just wanted to say to all of them, all the Philly fans, how you like that? Did you like that Philly special? Because we saw all the green, okay, in Landover. It's okay. We used to that. But this is for the real Mohicans, the real Redskins fan that's been here the whole time. And this is for everybody who's not here anymore. All the people we lost in these 40 years, these 30, 40 years from the glory. That's all I got to say. We're taking it back to 1991. We're taking it back to January 92 when I was in the 4th grade. That's what we're doing. We want to go to the show. Why not? We're not really scared of any teams like that anymore. This is a new era. We're tired of being mediocre. Let's go. That's all I have to say. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, man. Appreciate the call. And yeah, I mean, still plenty of Eagles fans in the building yesterday. Weren't that loud by the end. I mean, Anthony.
They travel well, man.
They do.
They
and
travel
look,
well.
These tickets go on sale before, we know that Jayden Daniels is Jayden Daniels.
Uh-huh.
Right? I think next year you're going to see a lot more burgundy in the stands because the second, one, I guarantee they've already sold a ton more season tickets for next year. And two, the second the individual packs and whatever go on sale next year when the schedule comes out, people are going to buy those tickets from the home side. And I would hope that they can find a way to sell even more of those and not just give them out to Ticketmaster to sell or whatever. Let's shrink that down. Mitch and I were talking about this in the press box yesterday because when we did the segment a couple weeks ago when they hired the new team president that's coming in from the Campbell's company. And we had people call in and say, what's the number one thing you want to see? And Mitch was like, they got to find a way to make sure that the home field advantage is home field. That's one of the biggest things. And, so Mitch and I were talking about that in the press box yesterday. And he's 100% right. There's not a whole lot you could have done about that this season because you didn't know that Jayden would be this. But moving forward, make Northwest Stadium a place that is hellacious to play at. And I think despite the fact that there were still a lot of Eagles fans yesterday, that was easily a Commanders home crowd. It wasn't like in the past where it is basically you're on the road playing at home. It wasn't raucous until, the end or wwhatever, but that's also in part because they got punched in the mouth early. Eagles score in the first quarter, and you're down 21-7, 14-0, before you can blink. But if you get a real home field advantage with the electricity of the team that you have with Terry, with Jayden, with whatever is going to still come in the future, I think it's going to be a pretty special place to play. And, I mean, nothing will ever beat the roar of the Hail Mary. That's going to be a hard one to top unless, they win the playoff game in dramatic fashion. But, it was pretty damn loud when Crowder scored the game winner yesterday, Ant.
Oh, it was super loud, man. Super loud.
Like, the pandemonium was, if the Hail Mary, the Hail Jayden was a 10, that was like an 8.
Yeah, I think that's good.
It was a good time. It was a good time. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce, thanks for calling on a Tell the Truth Monday. You're on the Hoffman Show.
It's the Hoffman Show. Okay. I'm an old dude. I remember like Billy Kilmer, Sonny Jurgensen, Joe Theismann. Jayden Daniels is in a category of a quarterback that's rare that we've never had. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Like, yeah, it's the fourth quarter, a minute left. Yeah, it's not over yet. Like, I know it's maybe premature 15 games in, but a guy with like that special like magic, whatever the cliches, ice water in your veins, but like we have never had a stone cold comeback kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Bruce, thanks for the call. I mean, I would have to defer to someone. I mean, I'm not trying to be ageist here, but I would have to defer to someone who's more in your age bracket on the Sonny and the Billy Kilmer and back in that day. But certainly haven't had it recently. I mean, Sonny it's so funny to go back and look. Like, Anthony, I don't know how much time you spend on Pro Football Reference, but like Sonny's numbers were sick. And like the old highlights of Sonny and the stories you hear about Sonny, like I, for one, am not going to say a damn thing about Sonny Jurgensen that isn't Sonny Jurgensen is deservedly a Hall of Famer who is as great could be. Like, Sonny was the freaking man. But in modern times, so I'm going to take Sonny out of it. Like, Doug was really great for a stretch, but, there's a reason that, Joe was the best probably of the 3 Super Bowl winners, and we all know that sadly his career ended with that Lawrence Taylor hit, right? Rippon and Doug, much more in the middle level quarterbacks who elevated and played on great teams and did their job. Rippon was really prolific at times. I saw the stat last night on Sunday Night Football as they were doing their post-game show. I think this is the first time that a Washington quarterback has had 5 touchdowns since Rippon in 91, I think was the stat. It might have been as a rookie, but like it's been a long time. And the only other guy in, modern history, if you will, is 1 year of Robert, where, obviously I get to work with Logan, and Logan was on that 2012 team, and he talks about like the confidence we had that year. We just knew we had the guy that could make it happen. And you think about the Minnesota run and all the magical moments that Robert had in that very short but bright burst. And Jayden has that and more. I think if I had to put money on it, I'd put my basically entire life savings on the fact that Jayden will not be Robert, that Jayden will not be a flash in the pan, that there is a sustenance and a substance to him. I guess a substance to him that will lead to sustenance for a long time. That this is not going to be something that is a quick, nope, okay, it's over. Like, that was fun while it lasted. The league has figured him out. His head is on backwards. Like, none of that. Jayden's going to be here to stay, knock on wood, barring something happening to him. It won't be because of him. And I think while you still have to wait to say like, oh, he's X, Y, or Z in terms of his career all time, because we are just 15 games in. And even on a shorter leash, like C.J. Stroud last year compared to C.J. Stroud this year, different level of production. And some of that has to do with a lot of other factors around him in Houston, but he simply has not been this good or as good this year. So it's not to say that Jayden is going to be an all-pro every year. It's all up from here. This is the worst he'll ever play. Like, he'll have some stretches because he's a human being, and playing quarterback in the NFL is hard. But, oh my God, what a starting point. If he's just going to continue to learn and grow and get things, the lulls will be short. They will not be very low, and he still might win games when he doesn't play well anyway. And this is certainly one of the worst rosters he'll ever be a part of. And that's not to say that this is a bad roster. This is not to say this is a bad football team. But it is one that was built with haste in a year by Adam Peters by flipping, at this point, damn near 40 players from the previous year with one draft. All of the players that Adam Peters has drafted here are rookies. Imagine what happens when he gets more of his guys in through the draft, when the young players develop into better veterans, and they continue to sign guys because they have a ton of cap space, and now this is a place to be in the NFL. It's exciting. It's really exciting. And I don't know that it's certainly since Robert, if not since well before, that it's been quite like this. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. More of your calls on a Tell the Truth Monday. Terry McLaurin in 30 minutes. More of your calls, though, next here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Michael Phillips joins us. And then at 5:15, Terry McLaurin, one-on-one. You've got to hear this interview coming up in about 25 minutes from right now. Right now, though, it is your calls at 301-230-0980. Let's go to DC. DC, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Great day, Craig. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great, man. Did not expect this win, but I'm happy that it happened.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So that's what I want to speak about, man. The brotherhood, the brotherhood, the brotherhood. The organization got a GM they could believe in. The GM got a coach he could believe in. The coach got a quarterback he could believe in. And the quarterback got a team that he can believe in, and they believe in him. And, man, in spite of how bad we played, we still held it together, showed that we had each other's back as brothers do, and we got the win, man. You know what I'm saying? Even as far as St. Jude's coming in the game, when we needed them, everybody is involved, whether they're in the game or not, and that's what I like about our new team, man, our team now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the way that these guys have each other's backs, I think, is an enormous part of this, DC. And I think as a fan, it makes it fun to watch. Appreciate the call. As an analyst, it makes it fun to watch. And, man, Juice, that dude could not buy a break. He'd play like 6 snaps the last couple of weeks. Actually, he played more yesterday. And on that fourth down, he plays it, the coverage portion, perfectly. Perfectly. Like you force the throw short of the sticks. You're in good position to rally and tackle, and then you miss the tackle. You're just like, guy.
I couldn't believe. First of all,
the anti-clutch gene is just incredible.
Game.
Well, it was in there because Marshawn got hurt.
Yeah, so I saw when he first came into the game because he came into the game, tapped Marshawn on the shoulder, and was like, "Yo, you got to get out." I'm like, "Why St. Juice in the game?" And then the following play on the fourth down, he was still in the game. I said, "What?" Wow, yeah. So,
I guess Marshawn was hurt.
Yeah,
I was for all of his anti-clutch gene. You know,
you were so right. That's all I could think about too.
I was like, he is very, very good, except for in the biggest moments where something terrible always happens. Hey, it's 3rd and 10 against the Saints. Face mask, son of a. 4th down. Look, oh, man. We got a 6-man pressure. He makes sure Brown's short of the sticks. It's really on the pass rush because he chased him all the way across the field. He's in a position. Missed the tackle. Brah. But you want to know who did recover on the final kickoff of the game, the fumble-rooski scramble drill? He recovered the fumble on special teams.
Hey, look, we love it then.
Maybe that is low-key the solving of his anti-clutch gene. Maybe that recovering that magic bean will be like when you came to the Mystics game against the Sparks and crushed the curse of Anthony Haney.
Yeah. It just takes one. It just takes one.
It just takes Benjamin, if you're out there listening. As long as there's nothing funky with the Canadian exchange rate. It only takes one. It only takes one. Let's go to, is it Swami? Anthony, what do we got?
Swami.
This is not Chris Berman. The Schwam. Hey.
No, that's my actual name. This is my real name.
Okay.
But listen, just a quick background. I've been here since 1980, Christmas Day. I came here as a kid from India. I saw the helmets. I fell in love with this team, okay? That was in 1980. And I'm out of breath because this Daniels is amazing. And we got so many, hopefully, if he doesn't get hurt, so many good years in front of us. And I'm just like flabbergasted as to how good this kid is. That's it, brother. Go Redskins.
All right. Thanks for the call, man. It's exciting, man. I mean, he's special. And, coming out, it was funny because in the draft stuff, they were saying, like, we would have taken him 1. And everyone's like, that's easy to say when you're the 2nd pick and Caleb Williams is not there anymore. Because, by the way, Caleb Williams, from a talent standpoint, is one of the freakiest dudes to ever play quarterback in the NFL. Like, the throws he makes on a weekly basis are absolutely insane. But Jayden wins football games. Jayden just finds a way. And so, and when you hear a coach or a GM be like, we love the competitor. And you're like, I don't know. As a quarterback, I just like a guy who can process well, who can make throws off platform, who can make a bunch of plays. The competitor, like, what does that actually do for you? And you see it with him week in, week out. Like, Jayden Daniels, for the better, has changed the way that I look at football players. Like, when I do draft stuff this year, I will do my evaluations differently because of Jayden Daniels. That is how special, how formative, how powerful his ability is as a player. That it is literally, in 1 year of covering him up close, in 1 year of seeing Adam Peters operate and Dan Quinn operate, has changed the way I think about really more than football. Like, I am looking through at the Wizards rebuild differently and some of the guys they have drafted because of Jayden Daniels, and I see what he means to the Washington Commanders. And I'm like, I know they need not just like the superstar player who makes it work, but like that kind of competitor to drive this. And I think that's really cool. I consider myself fortunate as an analyst, as someone who does this, to have that experience. And if you're a fan and you just get to enjoy it, then certainly enjoy it. Shwami sounded a little bit worked up. It's a little uncomfortable, but I don't want to rain on his parade. You have no further comment, Anthony?
Nah, I didn't want to say anything.
That's probably smart. I just felt like I had to acknowledge it for everybody else. That was like 10% too much in a really uncomfortable way. Okay, when we get back, Michael Phillips. And just after Michael, one-on-one with Terry McLaurin. It's the Hoffman Show, hour number 2, which will feature my one-on-one chat with Terry McLaurin in about 15 minutes and starts off, as it does on a Monday, with Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Now, hilariously, Michael Phillips was not there yesterday at the game. Michael, they won without you. The curse is broken, which I feel like should be a pressure release for you.
I was this close to texting you at 14-0 and asking if I needed to make an emergency, like how quickly could I get there, just to make it respectable, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wear this one. But luckily, Jayden Daniels is bigger than any potential curses. I'm more curious, Craig. You've got an interview with Terry McLaurin, and you're putzing around with me, man. I mean, I'm honored.
Michael, often we go 2 segments with you. You're getting 1 today.
You could give me 30 seconds. I'd be happy if I'm batting lead off for that guy. He's good.
Yeah, he's great. You know, I asked him about 3 questions. It's 4.5 minutes, and sometimes that's the worst because you're like, that dude talked forever and said nothing. Nope, this is great. We talked in the locker room last night. It's fantastic. Want to make sure we get people time to get out of work and, you know, waddle to their cars in their penguin coats because it's 20 degrees outside, and then they'll be able to listen to Terry at 5:15 on the drive home. Nothing wrong with that.
I will stay tuned. I've got the Odyssey app. I know what to do.
There you go. Company man right there. Of course, Michael, host of MP on the Mic, 10 a.m. to noon on our sister station, 910 The Fan, down in Richmond, which you can listen to on the free Odyssey app. And Michael, let me ask you this, because I haven't kicked this around yet, but I think it's something I want to kick around throughout this week. Beating the Eagles in the way that they did, which includes everything, the comeback, the sloppy play, Jayden, having 5 touchdowns, the fact that Hurts wasn't there, but they finally beat a winning team, a team that had won 10 straight. Whatever that means. What does it mean? Like, does it change anything about how you think of this Washington team entering January?
Yes, and I may have even said it on your show last week. At this time last week, I didn't think they could win a playoff game against Philly or Detroit. I thought that they were a good team, and I think the critique went a little hard from the corners of the world that go hard on critiques. They haven't beaten anybody. Well, hang on, because they played well, and they'd beaten some somebodies. They'd beaten Cincy and Arizona. You can pile up some wins that look really good. Maybe they hadn't beaten an elite team, but I thought they had beat some teams. My thought was if they're going to be the 7th seed going into the playoffs, which it looked like they were, they're not going to win in Detroit and they're not going to win in Philly. Those would be the 2 places they're going to play. In light of how number 5 played yesterday, you got to put that back on the table. And by the way, you got to put the 6th seed back on the table, which is pretty dang exciting.
Right. Well, there's a couple of things, right? One, the way Detroit is deteriorating, not that they're actually playing any worse somehow, some way, but they are down to like their 18th string dudes on defense. Like, it is ridiculous when you compare their opening day lineup and their opening day depth chart compared to what they're putting out there now, because like half the team that's out there now, forget wasn't on the depth chart, they weren't on the team. Like, it's because they've gone to practice squads and signed other dudes off the street and this and that. Like, it is a completely different Detroit defense, even if their offense is still absolutely cooking everything in their path. Philly, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Hurts thing. You'd have to imagine they're probably okay. But Washington is certainly comfortable against them, playing them for a 3rd time. And then, like you said, Michael, if all of a sudden Minnesota beats Green Bay this weekend and Washington can win out, Washington could steal the 6th seed, which all of a sudden makes them not playing Detroit or Philly, whoever doesn't get the 1 seed. They're probably going to L.A., and that's not that – I mean, it is scary because Matthew Stafford's amazing, but, like, it's not that scary.
Well, it's the playoffs. All games are scary, right? Playoff teams are good by definition, but this team's good too, and I think the way they won, where a lot of things didn't go well for them yesterday, and a lot of things – I think Dan Quinn mismanaged his timeouts on the clock in both halves. And, you had the turnovers, obviously, and you didn't get the running game going. To win like that shows you that, hey, this kid can overcome a lot of things, and you don't count him out, that's for sure.
I think the other thing, too, and I'm curious if you picked up on this or what you make of this, they played a much bolder game yesterday. Like, they went for it on the 4th downs, and they took some different chances. we've talked about this multiple times this year, Michael, where they've played the game that's in front of them. But do you think that seeing how it played out, that Dan might be more inclined to say, like, we're going to be a little bit more aggressive because 5 is just that guy? And also knowing, like you said, all playoff games are hard, that going down the stretch and certainly in a playoff game, this is the version of his management style, game management that we would see.
Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to see. No regrets on any of the misses, either the fourth down miss or for going for points before halftime. I was very much in favor of both of those decisions and remain in favor of both of those decisions. You've got number 5. They only missed one fourth down conversion yesterday, Craig. It's the one where he didn't have the ball. It's the one where they gave it to Brian Robinson. His conversion percentage is otherworldly on these plays. You get to that mesh point. Is he going to keep it or is he going to hand it off? He's always going to keep it on fourth down, and he always gets it. He makes the play. He makes the run. He makes the scramble or he makes the throw. That's what's so incredible here is just it's not an occasional thing. I mean, if they had made that extra point against Dallas, we'd maybe be talking about like Jayden having 4 signature moments this year. The throw against Cincy, yesterday the Cowboys game, and the Hail Mary. 4 signature moments is a career, Craig. That's a career for really good players.
Yeah, and by the way, the one that he gave to Robinson, I watched it back enough times. I was like, I actually think he probably should have kept that one. I think that was his own read. I like the call. You should have kept it, which is amazing because normally he does, and even if it's not the right move, and then he figures it out. And on that one, he gave it, and just the front side blocking let the team down. Michael Phillips with us here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, it would be nice to just continue to reminisce about yesterday. But, Michael, I feel like this is a good topic to hit with you because you covered this guy for a long time. John Allen is very likely coming back this week. What do you think that does to the Commanders' defense?
Yeah, and certainly this week, bottling up Bijan's going to be really important to getting this win. And this win's now important because of the 6th seed implications and the possibility to get that done. They'll know by kickoff if that's in play. At any rate, winning's better than losing, and having John Allen's better than not having him. But, the difference yesterday, in addition to number 5, was that they bottled up Saquon in the second half. And he's going to make it easier to do that in the postseason. You're going to play a team with a good running game. There just aren't any teams in the playoffs that don't know how to run the ball. He can help you on that front. He can rush through on the way to the quarterback. Hopefully he takes a little of the pressure off of Cleveland, Farrell, Dorrance Armstrong, those guys. They are doing the best they can, Craig, and they are playing good enough for this team to win. But they're not going to be the all-stars. This is an all-star. This is a Pro Bowler. Let him cook, and hopefully that takes a little heat off of everybody else.
I really hope that that's the case, that he's watched how this defense is played, and he understands it, and he can come back in and play really well and use, it's not going to be perfect. He can use these 2 games. I mean, there's a chance they've clinched, obviously, by kickoff on Sunday night, yeah. And that Sunday night game winds up being a coronation instead of something they need to clinch. And either way, getting, these 2 games, presuming that they make the playoffs, to knock the rust off and then be there. And also, I think for Joe to relearn John a little bit, see where he's at. And they've been way more creative with some of their packages. I mean, some of the things they ran against the Saints specifically to generate pressure, wild-ass stuff, where they got dudes lining up all over the place. And I think having a John Allen to put into your wild-ass pass rush package, nevertheless, what he can potentially do as a run stuffer on first and second down, if he can find that part of his game, I think like adding John Allen and Marshawn Lattimore in December is something that's pretty rare and hopefully can elevate the Commanders to a level they just haven't really reached on defense in terms of consistency this year.
Yeah, my goodness, the drop-off when you went Lattimore to St. Juice at the end there, it's like, oh, yeah, it's nice having Lattimore. He's really good at this.
Then again, he did have, like, the PIs, man. Like, I actually, on some level, I would say I enjoyed it. It's easier to, like, kind of laugh about this in hindsight. But when everyone would be like, St. Juice is the worst corner in the history of football, I'm like, you guys really need to watch more football because that is a volatile position. And I'm not telling you St. Juice was actually awesome all year or that Lattimore stinks. The point is, this happens. And like yesterday, I mean, St. Juice missing that tackle is brutal. So yikes. But like you see how hard it is to play corner in the NFL yesterday as well.
Yeah, no question. But to go back to your Jonathan Allen point, if he doesn't figure it out, by the way, this staff will bench him with the quickness. They're not shy about doing that. They're not shy about cutting dudes who are around for Ron Rivera. So I don't worry about there being potential negatives here. I think it's either he figures it out and he's awesome, or he doesn't figure it out and they send him back to the bench and move on this offseason by trading him. I think that those are your two options there. I will say both of those PIs to start the third quarter were complete nonsense. They gave him a free 3 points. It's a volatile game, but that was crazy.
It was. Those were not good calls. It drove me. It's like, I also understand why they were called the way they were called, though, because they looked bad. Like, they looked bad initially. Then you do the slow motion replay bit, and you're like, actually, A.J. Brown was hooking Marshawn Lattimore by the chest plate. That is not defensive pass interference. But it's hard to see that if you're an official in real time, and A.J. Brown's really good, and he's a large man. It's hard to see around. So, like, the sport's very silly, Michael, I think is really what I'm getting at here.
Sports, what's up with that?
Yeah.
That's a good spin-off show. I'd listen to that.
Sports, what's up with that? Who's the dream host of that show? Like, who in sports media should host that show?
Sports, what's up with that? That's a good question. Maybe like a Gus Johnson. I feel like there's a little bit of yelling involved with this concept. A little bit like, oh wow, what's up with that, guys? And some nicknames. Maybe a 1987 Chris Berman would be good for that show.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting 2025 Chris Berman for anything, but I think vintage Chris Berman could uncork some winners on that one.
I think Katie Nolan could do a good job with that show.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much
also,
so.
Speaking of 2025 Chris Berman, do you know he's still doing like the ESPN Plus version of Primetime? And do you know his nickname for Chuba Hubbard, the Panthers running back?
No, I'm ready.
The Chuba Missile Crisis.
Okay. I see you.
He's still got a little zip on that fastball.
That is a fat man. That is a fast. That's like Nolan Ryan in the farewell tour. Like you didn't get it every pitch, but every once in a while, like, oh, okay, all right, that's what we paid for.
The Chuba Missile Crisis. All right, I'm going to stop before my voice just goes completely gone. It's too damn cold outside to be doing Chris Berman impressions. Michael Phillips, see what he does on his show, 10 a.m. to noon. We'll talk about an endorsement of a radio program. 10 a.m. to noon. You can listen to it on the free Odyssey app on 910 The Fan, our sister station down in Richmond. Michael, will I see you Sunday night at Northwest Stadium?
You'll see me Sunday night. You won't hear me on the radio tomorrow. I'm peace out and for the rest of the week. But
nice.
The show's available on the app. You can listen to, as we say, it's the best of the show until we do better.
Oh, this is fine edition of the show. Michael, thank you, sir, and see you Sunday night.
Take care, Craig.
All right, when we get back here on the Team 980, my one-on-one chat with Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin on his tying of the single-season receiving touchdown record in Washington football history. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are also streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. And so yesterday, Terry McLaurin caught his 12th touchdown pass of the season. I believe it was a 38-yard bomb from Jayden Daniels. It was an unbelievable throw and a huge trust that Jayden showed in Terry. And that touchdown tied him with 4 other players for 12, the most in Washington football history. And Terry obviously has 2 games to go to break that record and become the sole leader. He also crossed over 1,000 yards for the 6th straight season. That is a Washington record as well. And it has been quite the journey for Terry to get here, and something that I have had a front row seat for parts of. I was on the beat for Terry's rookie year. That was my last year on the beat, and I've obviously been watching from this seat for the last 3 years, and was watching from whatever roles I had in between the two. But have always been able to maintain a good relationship with Terry, professional. It's not like I see him in the offseason, we hang out or anything, but every time I see him, we always say hello, and he's just... I consider myself very fortunate to have met him when I did in the role I was in and to watch his career unfold. And so I wanted to ask him in the post-game press conference yesterday what that record meant to him. And luckily for me, they never handed me the microphone. They cut the press conference off because Jameson Crowder was about to go. And thus, I started talking with Terry as we walked out of the press conference room back towards the locker room. And it was pretty clear that this is something that meant a lot to him, and he wanted to talk about it. So he was willing to, once he got back in the locker room after doing another phone interview, to chat exclusively with me about this record and what this season has meant to him. And thus, you get to hear that interview right now.
Terry, what's it mean to you? You tied today the franchise touchdown record. It's your 12th of the season.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I thank God, honestly. Without him, I wouldn't be in this position to continue to play at a high level and live out my dream with this group. And I'm having the time of my career right now, just playing with such a group of unselfish guys who are competitors and care about putting the work in each and every week. And, they push me to come out and be the best version of myself each and every practice and each and every game. And the way they rally around me and we rally around each other, I think is something that is I haven't experienced at this level. And so to have a piece of the record, honestly, I'm thankful, because I've seen it all at this point. And so to have my name right next to so many great legend receivers in this organization, I don't even have the words right now because I haven't even processed it all the way. But
so were you aware of it before I told you coming off the podium?
No, I didn't really even think about it, honestly. Like, I knew I had 11, but I knew it didn't register. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that touchdown gave me 12, but it was like, oh, I got it. You know what I mean? So it's just cool. Like, I've gotten to meet a lot of the great receivers that have come through here, and just the respect that I have for them, the way they paved the way, and to get kind of the nod of the hat from them when I meet them, it means a lot to me. And I feel like, I just want to be a great example of resilience and consistency, and a leader on and off the field that people could look up to and be proud like he's on our team.
I laugh when you say resilience because, like, let's be real about the last 6 years. Like, you've had to be very resilient from team success to some of the quarterback rotations. And so through the context of this record and, like, tying it to say what it means about this season, the people that you're playing with, the opportunities you've been given by the staff, what does 100%. That part of this mean to you?
Man, I feel extremely valued here. You know what I mean? From my opinion off the field, talking to AP and DQ, from on the field, talking to Cliff for what I like. On that touchdown, he was like, what do you like? And I told him, and he called it. That's not happened once. It's happened multiple times. Moving me around over the course of the season has definitely helped us as well. And so to feel like you're in a place where you love the culture, you have a great quarterback you feel like you could build with. We haven't been perfect at all this season. It makes me excited for how much him and I can grow together. But to be a part of this with this group is amazing, and it makes it that much sweeter to have this success because you're doing it with a group of people who care about putting the work in. They care about being competitive. Like, that's who I've always been. And unfortunately, the chips don't always fall your way in that aspect. But I feel like I'm in an environment that cultivates that breeds that each and every week. So I mean, I feel I could truly be myself. I could truly give my opinion. I can truly just be present each and every day and knowing things are going to work out. So it's taken a lot of pressure, and I've been able to relax a lot going into games because I know I'm going to get my opportunities. I know that they believe in me and they're going to put me in a situation to be successful. So I think, I just thank God that I'm now being able to maximize. I finally feel like I've been able to maximize my skill set, and playing with Jayden, it makes it a lot easier.
You said enough there that we'll have to do like an hour-long podcast after the season to unpack it all. But last thing on the record, you have 2 more. Like I know you're like, hey, we're not done yet. So like when you look ahead and the opportunities to whether it's set, obviously the touchdown record with 1 more, new yardage, career highs, and it's all about team success. You also could win 11 games for the first time since 1992, I believe it is. Like, what are the things that you're looking forward to in the next 2 regular season games?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing strong. I'm looking forward to focusing on Atlanta going into this week because that's my only sole focus. They're a good team that's fighting for the playoffs, and we want to be playing at a standard of ball that helps us get into the playoffs and have success going forward. And one thing I've learned throughout the course of my career, just playing football in general, is you'll have a lot of individual success when the team has success. And I'm reaping the benefits of that. And I'm just looking forward to continue to put the work in and see how far we can go. And I don't think we just proved that we can compete with the best. And so it's up to us minimizing mistakes, be us going in each and every week. And I just want to try to continue to be the best version of myself for this team. So if the record happens, it happens, honestly. But I'm really excited to have a chance to go into the playoffs, go deep with this group. And, we'll see going from here.
Congratulations.
I appreciate you.
It's Terry McLaurin with us here on the Hoffman Show. Again, that conversation from last night in a very, very happy Commanders locker room. We also talked with Jameson Crowder. You'll hear that interview exclusively at 6:30 here on the Team 980. But when it comes to Terry, he's just like his consistency considering what he's had to deal with. And like my wife and I talk about this sometimes. Being resilient can be overrated. Like, I'm tired of having to be resilient. This is just not. I would just like to catch a break. I don't want to have to be resilient. I want things to just happen for me because I am a good person and I work hard. And being resilient can be very overrated. And that is, if you're Terry McLaurin, NFL football player who's paid millions of dollars, just like many of your colleagues across the league, and yet you have to deal with the Washington situation that has been for much of his 6 years. Or it could be. So anyone listening who your boss, decided to leave, they got replaced by a terrible boss, or, you had a colleague that left that now you have to deal with doing some of their work, and like whatever the situation is, if you got stuff that's not work related that you're just like, man, I didn't do anything. Why am I having to be tough here? I would like to just enjoy my life. And being resilient is better than not being resilient. But the resilience that McLaurin has showed because his situation has demanded it, and the professionalism he has continued to show, the way he shows up for his teammates, the way he's able to center the things that are important is truly special. And it's why I've enjoyed him so much. And I'm thrilled to see that when he gets the kind of opportunity to shine and show his talent, that he's everything that a lot of us that have watched him up close have thought he could be. And my thing with Terry has always kind of been, is he the best receiver in the NFL or a top 10 receiver in the NFL? And, they get compared to different guys. And I'm just like, switch those two. How do you think that goes? And Terry is finally in the good situations. And now you're seeing just how it's going. What will be an 11 or 1,200 yard season likely with 12 plus touchdowns and a spot in the playoffs where he is helping drive winning in a major, major way. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, we go around the NFL for everything else that happened on a wild Week 16. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. 5:30 on a Monday. By the way, Wizards playing tonight. We're with it being a Victory Monday and all the things on football we got going on in a short week because we're off on Wednesday. Dave we're giving Dave the day off, but Wizards are playing tonight here on the Team 980 after we are done. But 5:30 on a Monday means it is time for us to go around the NFL, review how we did on our picks, maybe sneak in a fantasy update here and there. Anthony's got quite a story to tell on the fantasy front, and what else we got to do? Our picks, and then we have to give our analysis. You know, it's not just about us, Anthony. We have to talk about the games.
Of course.
All right. But first, back to us. What are the standings on the picks going into the weekend?
So, Craig, you have a 5-game lead over me.
Mm-hmm.
You sit at 153 and 67, and I am at 148 and 72. The thing is, we've done really well in terms of picking games. It's just I haven't done as good as you.
No, we have both been. I mean, God, you said 153 and 67?
Yeah.
I'm like a couple good weeks from being 100 games over 500 on the year.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Because I want to say last year we were definitely like near the. I'm pretty sure we were near the 90s in terms of like incorrect games. Maybe 80s.
Try to keep that down. I don't know. You probably have it somewhere. We can look it up later. All right. We did not pick Thursday Night Football. We did talk about it a little bit on Friday. Chargers 34, Broncos 27, which massively opens up the AFC playoff standings. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we go here. But with that situation, the Chargers move into the 6th seed. The Broncos move into the 7th seed. And they've got a tough remaining schedule. Colts, Dolphins, Bengals still alive. How did that go down over the weekend? Let us talk about it. Chiefs, they get us started with a win on Saturday, 27-19 over the Texans. Sadly, probably the biggest story from this game is the Tank Dell injury, which was nasty. Dislocated kneecap. He suffers on a touchdown. For a guy who's been through so much, to see him go down, game stopped for a long time, wheeled off in an ambulance. C.J. Stroud puts a towel over his head, is in tears. His Tank is one of his best friends. And just another weapon that goes down. I mean, Dell in the game was their leading receiver. 6 catches, 98 yards, and the touchdown that he somehow held on to as he got hurt. But you see Stroud again struggle all in all. I mean, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks, sacked twice. He's only got a QBR of 64 in the game. Meanwhile, Mahomes keeps it clean, 28 for 41, and it is a 1 touchdown, no pick game for him. Kareem Hunt gets it done enough on the ground, 5 yards a carry on the 11 carries. Isaiah Pacheco, 9 for 26. So it's not like they had a ton on the ground, but they did enough, man. And Houston only 84 yards on the ground. So Kansas City, they just find a way. It's what they do.
Yeah. How much of this game did you watch?
Not very much, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I used to get excited to watch the Chiefs.
I did too. Like, Mahomes is like, I feel like we take Mahomes for granted.
I guess we are. I guess that's what we're doing.
We should realize that dude is the best guy that, like, he might wind up being the GOAT. He's certainly in the GOAT tier, and we should cherish every moment that we get to watch him. But this is how it goes, right? Is we love guys on the way up. They get to the top, and then people turn on them. And it's like, I'm sick of him. I want to see someone else win. And it's like, why? He's still the same dude. In fact, he's probably in many ways even better. Maybe not this season. He hasn't been better, but he's as good as he's ever been. And we're just like, nah, but we're used to it by now. Okay. They're 14-1.
Yeah.
They're not even that good, but
No.
they're 14-1. By the way, the Texans claimed Deontay Johnson when he was waived by the Ravens. So they are trying to make it work at the receiver position. Johnson, of course, traded at the trade deadline from Carolina to Baltimore. That was a oil meets water type of mix. And so now he is off to Houston, where they'll try to integrate him before the playoffs. Houston's already clinched the AFC South. They will be the 4 seed in the AFC playoffs, barring something wacky happening down the stretch. Chiefs, 1 more win, and they get the 1 seed. Again, all games will go through Arrowhead. Ravens, they have made this interesting in the AFC North. They beat the Steelers 34-17, thanks in part to a 10-0 fourth quarter run. Key turnovers for Pittsburgh here, and all of a sudden Baltimore right back. Like, this feels much more correct, right? This feels like where Baltimore belongs in terms of how they perform when they are at their best. Just a monster rushing day against a Pittsburgh defense that certainly knew that was the goal coming in. But Lamar goes for just 22. They shut him down. But Derrick Henry, 24 for 162. Justice Hill, 2 for 30. So 192 yards on 26 carries from the Baltimore running backs.
I mean, yeah, that's their identity. And I feel as though they do this every regular season, where you'll see them run extremely well, and then in the playoffs, they want to deviate from what got them there. Like, there's no reason they should have lost to the Chiefs last year, because you just keep running the ball, and they didn't do it.
Well, and that's why they went and got Derrick Henry in the offseason.
Yep.
And by the way, Lamar, 15 of 23, 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
He had 15 completions. 3 of them were touchdowns. Russ, the costly pick 6 to Marlon Humphrey. And, Pittsburgh, their identity is running the ball too. They're just not that good at it. I mean, they did average 4.9 a carry in this game. So that's pretty good, but they only get off 24 rushes because they're down and they can't really play the way that they want to play. So the way things stand right now in the AFC North, Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker over Baltimore based on best winning percentage in conference games, but that is just a 1-game lead. So with 2 to go, Pittsburgh, probably it's going to come down to not a tiebreaker, but they have the same record. So it's going to be who wins out, who doesn't. Pittsburgh has Kansas City on Wednesday, on Christmas, and then the Bengals. Meanwhile, the Ravens have the Texans and then the Browns. I would say advantage Baltimore.
Yeah, no question. And the fact that the Bengals, we'll get to the Bengals actually. Let me pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. Don't get ahead of ourselves. How did we do on the Saturday games?
We are 2-2. I mean, my bad. We're 2-0.
We both picked them correctly. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The Falcons, which this game is only interesting to talk about because it was the debut for Michael Penix, and the Falcons are the next opponent for the Commanders, beat the lowly Giants, who are 2-13. Yikes, babe. Michael Penix, 18 of 27, 202, no touchdowns, a pick. Bijan Robinson gets 22 carries. Tyler Algier, 11. They average not a great day on the ground, but because Drew Lock throws, a couple interceptions, a couple other turnovers, they lose a fumble as well. Like, the scoreboard is super duper sideways. And it really is going to come down to, can the Commanders make Michael Penix beat them? Like, just all out, sell out against the run. Bijan is super duper explosive, so you cannot give up. Like, he is probably the best guy outside of Barkley, and I will turn what for most backs is a 25-yard carry into a 60-yarder. You avoid that, and you don't turn the football over. The Falcons are very, very beatable on Sunday Night Football, unless Michael Penix just shows that he's far advanced than what we think he is at this stage of his career. But it should be a fun one, and I don't think this was really a great test for the Falcons offense against the Giants, who have just full-on quit.
Yeah, definitely not a test, but this is another game where the Falcons quarterback does not throw a touchdown, so I think that just says, I don't know if it's all on Kirk, because Penix also turned the ball over. I don't know, man.
Penix, that interception is not on him.
Yeah,
I saw a really funny post. Yeah, I saw a really funny post that was like, Michael Penix made the rookie mistake of hitting Kyle Pitts in the hands, not realizing that he is not good at catching footballs.
Yeah.
I mean, literally should have been a touchdown pass, or like at least to get you inside the 5, and it bounces off Pitts' hands into the defender's hands. Like, what are we doing?
Bad luck.
Not for Penix, it is. For Pitts, bad play. Lions 34, Bears 17, 27-point first half for Detroit. I give the Bears credit. They fought back after going down 13-0 early, had 14 points in the second quarter themselves, but ultimately just way too much. And, of course, the play of the day in the NFL is the Stumble-Rooski, Anthony, a play-action fake where Jared Goff fakes like he's going to fall down. Jahmyr Gibbs does fall down, and then lo and behold, Sam Laporta is wide open in the end zone, or near the end zone, then walks it on in. Caleb Williams on the other side, 26 of 40, 334 and 2 touchdowns. He's actually playing like decently good football. Problem is they have no running game in this one. He was their leading rusher, 6 for 34. Yikes. Keenan Allen, 9 for 141. Jameson Williams, by the way, on the other side of it, an 82-yard touchdown to the biggest part of a 5 for 143 day. Detroit, 13-2. They are still in the driver's seat for the 1 seed, which is now definitively a 3-team race between them, the Vikings, and the Eagles. Eagles took a huge blow, obviously, to that yesterday with their loss to the Commanders. Real quickly, to round out the early games, Browns, Bengals. Bengals win it 24-6. Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 97 yards, and touchdown as he pursues the Triple Crown. Anthony, this is the part where you get to talk about the Bengals.
That Bengals offense is humming. That's all I'm saying. I will be scared. If they get into the playoffs, correct, I will be scared to play them. I will be
terrified.
Oh, my God.
Burrow is playing out of his mind. Like
MVP if they were in the playoff race.
Yes. I mean, his field vision and his ability to keep his eyes down the field and feel the rush and move around and at the last second find someone is just uncanny. Your boys get it done. 38-30. Colts beat the Titans. 38-point day on a day where they threw 11 passes, Anthony. Shane Steichen, salute to you, sir. Don't mess around with stuff that doesn't work. Do the thing that does work. Jonathan Taylor, 29 carries, 218. Richardson has a bunch of yards on the ground. That's the way the Indianapolis Colts are going to play football for right now.
I mean, when you break off a 60-something yarder and then a 70-yarder as well, I think you should just keep toting the rock.
Anthony, they ran the ball 50 times.
That's smart.
50 for 335. And you want to know the best part of that?
What?
Bill Callahan was on the other sideline, just somewhere between salivating and crying.
Yeah.
Just being like, oh, that's my dream. Rams 19, Jets 9. Hey, look, the Jets stink again. Eagles, Commanders, obviously, we talked about 36-33. The Commanders, we will revisit that game in far more detail in our Pick 6 at 6. Anthony, as we get to the 4 o'clock window and break for a moment, how did we do in the early window? I feel like we might have gone undefeated.
7-1 because we both picked the Eagles.
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. That's 100%. If I'm going to go 7-1, that's even the one that I want. All right, when we get back, much more as we go around the NFL. The late window really helped shape the playoff picture. We will get to it next. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we are going around the NFL, all of our picks, the analysis from every game. We went 7-1 in the early window / Saturday. So, we might know what we're talking about. Let's see if it holds up in the late window. And this late window, critical in the playoff picture, and especially for Washington. This game means actually quite a bit for the Commanders. Vikings 27, Seahawks 24. The Vikings give up the lead late, come right back. Sam Darnold with just an absolute bean to Justin Jefferson for the win. Jefferson, 10 catches, 144, 2 touchdowns, comes through in the clutch, overcomes a 314-yard, 3-touchdown day by Geno Smith. This puts the Rams squarely in the lead for the NFC West, Anthony, and it also probably pushes the Seahawks and Rams into a situation where it's win the division or get in. So Seattle right now, along with the Rams result beating the Jets, falls one game back. These two teams play in the final game of the regular season. I also think this result could very well likely mean that game 156 or whatever the hell it is now, because there's now 17 weeks and whatever. But whatever that last game of the season is, gets flexed into Sunday Night Football, and it's NFC West winner in. And that this result probably locks that in, depending on what happens this week. The Seahawks have the Bears. The Rams have someone who's harder than the Bears, I believe. Hold on, I'll look it up. The Rams have the Cardinals. So, yeah, they have a division game, and then, of course, they play each other in Week 18.
Dang.
Yeah. And, oh, by the way, it keeps Minnesota alive for the 1 seed. They've won 8 straight. They are tied atop the division with the Lions at 13-2. They've got the Packers this weekend. So Minnesota being alive for the 1 seed adds extra incentive for them to beat the Packers. If they beat the Packers and Washington wins out, guess who's the 6 seed, not the 7 seed, and probably winds up in L.A. or Seattle for a playoff game?
The Washington Commanders.
That is correct, Anthony. That is correct. You want to know who's not going to the playoffs?
The Cardinals?
The Cardinals. They lose in overtime to Chuba Hubbard and the Carolina Panthers with the bounce back. Did I call this, or did I just pick them against the spread?
I think you picked them against the spread. You chose the Cardinals.
Dang. All right, I'll take my second L. I did definitely pick them against the spread. I was like, look, Arizona had a nice game a couple weeks ago. Carolina, they stumbled. They're going to come back. Sure enough, they did. Bryce Young and company able to just crush Kyler Murray's hopes of making this interesting late. James Conner, held much more in check than I think a lot of people were anticipating. Like, he had a good day, 5 for 117. They kind of needed or 15 for 117. They should have gone to that well way more often, but they just couldn't get the football. Like, they only ran, 61 plays? Carolina, hell of a job controlling the clock.
God damn.
Carolina, 36 rushes for 243. Just completely controlled the game.
Bryce Young, man. Hey, watch out for him next year, Craig, for fantasy purposes. Next season, he's a sleeper.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have their quarterback. Nice job.
They do.
The Bills, they have theirs for sure. And the Patriots, they look to have theirs as well. Unfortunately, theirs is very young and still makes too many mistakes. And an interception proved very, very costly. Josh Allen, 16-29 for 154 and a touchdown. He was due for some kind of regression after the absolute insanity that was his last couple of weeks. I still think he's the MVP favorite, but I think these last 2 weeks are going to be big. Bills vying for the 1 seed. They're going to need the Chiefs to lose out now. But James Cook, 11 carries, 100 yards, has a 46-yard touchdown as well. Bills get an important win. They hold on and beat the Patriots 24-21. Division game, just survive. The Raiders, they had an inside track to the number 1 pick. They messed it up. They beat the Jags 19-14. Anything else we want to say about this game, Anthony?
You lost, I won.
Okay, that's something I understand why you would want to say. Dolphins, 49ers. Dolphins alive in the playoffs. They need a ton of help, but they stay alive by beating Brock Purdy, who throws for 300 yards again, but the Niners offense just cannot put up the point production. They're down to like their 18th running back, and it has finally caught up with them. I mean, Patrick Taylor, I guess, was their starting running back in this game. He had 8 carries. That is not San Francisco 49er football. That is not how Kyle Shanahan wants to play. But when they're on their 4th guy. McCaffrey, Mason, Garundo. You eventually run out of dudes. And they put the ball in Purdy's hands. It only got them so far. And meanwhile, Tua was able to do what he needed to do. 215 and a touchdown. A-Chain runs for 120. And that's enough to win the football game.
Yeah, that was still, I don't get the Dolphins, man. I don't get the Dolphins at all. You go out there, you beat the 49ers.
I mean, the 49ers aren't good, though.
But the Dolphins have been bad this season. Like, defensively, I'm thinking, like, the 49ers going to have a field day, like, and they just didn't.
They did not. I thought the Bucs were going to have a field day. They did not. Cowboys, look at the fight in that Dallas team. I mean, Chris Collinsworth could not stop talking about it last night. Is Mike McCarthy going to coach his way into saving his job? I mean, maybe. Dallas was up 26-14 at halftime. They lost the second half 10-3, but if you add that all up, that is a 26-24 Cowboys win. This also opens up the AFC South for Atlanta, who obviously is here next weekend. Baker throws for 3 touchdowns, but has a big fumble late, and that is ultimately the difference in the game. Dallas gets the win, despite the fact that they ran for 31 yards as a team, Anthony. Rico Dowdle, their starting running back, had 13 carries for 23 yards. That is a 1.8 average. Gavontae Turpin had 3 carries. His long was 12. His total yardage was 11. He lost yards on the other 2.
God dang.
Ezekiel Elliott had 1 carry for 1 yard and a touchdown.
Nice.
And Cooper Rush had 3 rushes for -4. They ran for 31 yards and won the football game because CeeDee Lamb is a god.
I mean, when you have so many injuries in that Buccaneers secondary, people dropping interceptions, people on the team that weren't on the team at all to start, they're battling through so much. I guess they were due because that offense was humming as well. Mike Evans didn't necessarily have all that big of a game either.
Yeah. Cooper Rush is better than I want him to be. He's definitively not a top 30 quarterback in the NFL, but he very well is between 30 and 40, and they're confident with him in there, and that's going to make Week 18 interesting. There's a good chance that, if Washington wins against Atlanta, then it might not even matter. But then again, it very well might for seeding purposes, so definitely Cowboys still have an eye on them, and we'll see if they can just go 1-2-3 Cancun in Week 18. Dallas, don't you worry about it. All right, that is where we stand. Saints-Packers tonight. Saints are 14.5-point dogs. Assuming the Packers take care of business, they will maintain a 1-game lead over Washington for the 5 seed. If they lose, 2 teams are tied with a much tougher schedule for Green Bay remaining down the stretch. All right, that is our trip around the NFL. Anthony, final records for the week pending a New Orleans outcome tonight.
You went 9-5. I went 10-4.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, talk to me nice, Craig. Talk to me nice.
Very well done. When do we want to do Competition Wednesday this week? Do you want to do Tuesday or Thursday? Because we are off Wednesday because it's Christmas.
Yeah, I think we should. I think Thursday's gonna be.
By the way, this feels like a good time to let everybody know with Sunday Night Football coming to town this weekend. Mike Tirico's joining the show Thursday at 5.
But yeah, that's dope right there. So let's do it on tomorrow.
Let's see if we can squeeze it in the show tomorrow.
All right.
I think we'll have room. We'll make it happen. All right, so tomorrow at some point, Competition Wednesday, even though it'll be a Tuesday, and then I'll have all week to either gloat on yet another victory or simmer and stew in defeat. But that'll be tomorrow. We'll pick the games. Actually, we definitely should do it tomorrow because there's 3 games on Wednesday. That's the deciding fact. Yeah, I see you, Anthony. I see you.
I caught that stray of yours.
By the way, when we get back, Anthony and I actually need your help for Competition Wednesday this week. So we'll tell you how that went down. And our Pick 6 at 6, we did a hell of a job of picking players on Friday that had an impact in the game. Get to that. Jameson Crowder at 6:30. We're loaded up. Final hour of the Hoffman Show next. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's our final hour. Final full hour, right, Anthony? We're till 7 tonight. Even though the Wizards are playing, they're not on the West Coast. They're playing the Thunder tonight.
They play the Thunder, yeah.
So they're out
Central,
in Oklahoma
right?
City. Yeah, they're in Central Time. So that pregame will be at 7:45. Tip off at 8 here Eastern Time. 7 o'clock local there in OKC. But that means we get to go all the way till 7 o'clock, which for today, fantastic. Because, man, we got a lot to do. And that includes our interview with Jameson Crowder, post-game Commanders locker room last night. Talked on the heels of him getting his toes down for the game-winning touchdown to him. And you'll hear that interview coming up at 6:30. Of course, next time we'll be at I almost said Commanders Field, but they've renamed it. It's Northwest Stadium. Northwest Stadium. Next time we're at Northwest Stadium, Anthony, will be Sunday. And that is for Sunday Night Football, Commanders and Falcons. And Anthony and I have a plan. We want to come hang out with y'all. We want to get there early. We want to eat some food. And specifically, if you have some hot wings that are not like, we're not looking for it to bomb on hot ones here. We're looking for something with a nice kick, good flavor, but like, oh, damn, that's hot. That's what we're looking for. If you have that at your tailgate, we need to hear from you. What I need you to do is send me a DM on Instagram at Hoffman.sports. Hoffman.sports is the page. Or if you're not on Instagram and you want to email me, go to hoffmanshow.com, use the contact link. Hoffmanshow.com. And we want to come hang out at your tailgate. We'll throw the football around. We'll eat. We'll talk shop. It'll be a good time. We're not just there to eat your food and leave. If we need to pay for your food, hopefully it's not very expensive. We'll do what we got to do. But we have had hot wings on the wheel of mediocre punishment all season long for Competition Wednesday, and we've never spun it. So we're just saying, whoever has to spin this week between me and Anthony is going to eat some wings at the tailgate this weekend, and we would like it to be your tailgate. We're also going to vlog it, so we're going to be doing some vlogging. And you want Anthony, by the way, the 4 o'clock games this weekend, there's only 2 of them, and they are booty. They are 2 terrible. I don't even remember, but like one of them is like Jags Raiders or something. I know they just played. Maybe it's Titans. No, it's Titans Jags or something like that. Like, they play this weekend. They may not be the 4 o'clock window, but their games at the 4 o'clock window are horrendous. So it is very easy for us to leave early, come hang out. We want to know when your tailgates are starting. We want to come hang out. Let us know. Shoot me an Instagram DM at Hoffman.sports. And we're gonna come tailgate with some folks this weekend before Sunday Night Football.
Yes, we are. And I just looked it up. Dolphins, Browns.
Ugh.
Oh, now Vikings, Packers is at 425 though.
Did they change? They flexed it?
Oh yeah, I think they did flex some games.
Did that literally just change? Because I swear to God, when we looked this morning on
Titans Jags is at 1, so you might be right. It might have gotten flexed.
Hold on, week 17. Oh, Packers Vikings is okay. Packers Vikings. What game was? I'm trying. Oh, that did change. Literally this morning, Cowboys Eagles was at 4 o'clock.
Ah, okay.
They flexed that Vikings. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah, I thought you had to have like 2 weeks or 3 weeks advance notice.
Like when Tony and I did the show this morning, the First Impression Selection Show, Packers Vikings was at 1. Titans Jags was, or sorry, not Titans Jags. It was Dolphins Browns and Cowboys Eagles.
So I guess it must.
Or
have
did
just
ESPN
happened.
not have their stuff updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, so here's edit. Wait, we're live? Edit. We would love to come to your tailgate, hang out, eat wings, do a little vlogging, throw a football around, and watch Vikings Packers with you. That's what we would like to do. Anthony, good job checking on that.
Yes, sir. I'm with it, though.
Okay. We've now done a terrible thing, Anthony.
We have messed up the clock. I know.
We have royally screwed up the clock. Here's what I think I actually want to do. breaking this early is almost a crime, but it's not an actual crime. Let's do the pick six in one big chunk next. Rather than trying to rush through like half of it now, let's do this. We're going to break early here. We're going to come back. We're going to do the pick six, and then you're going to hear from Jameson Crowder at 6:30. So that's next, but first, let's get an update on the latest in the world of women's sports, presented by Wawa. Chicken how you want it at Wawa with customizable crispy or roasted chicken sandwiches. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Our pick 6 at 6 starts in 30 seconds. But first, I was not taking crazy pills. Packers-Vikings was flexed 4 hours ago into the late window. So initially, it was 2 pretty booty games because you were also potentially going to have Jalen Hurts out Sunday versus the Cowboys. So you would have had Kenny Pickett versus Cooper Rush and then Dolphins-Browns on CBS. And, yeah, instead, Fox was like, yeah, we like Packers-Vikings at 4:25, thanks. And so apparently they can flip that as long as they don't move the games in terms of days on that short of notice. So now you got the late game on Sunday, or the later game on Sunday. Of course, the late game is Commanders and Falcons. But we're not going to talk about that yet. That's for later in the week. We're going to talk about their win over the Eagles right now. It's time for our pick 6. Different button, Anthony.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is time!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level, build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, let's roll on our pick 6. On Mondays, we look back at the 6 players that we selected on Friday that we thought would hold the keys to the outcome of the game. And it was really hard to pick the 6 players on Friday. We actually reflected on how hard it was Friday at 6:30 after we got done. But we did one hell of a job, Anthony, starting with
Number 1.
Number 1 was my selection, and it was a guy who completely changed this game. Frankie Louvu's interception on Kenny Pickett put a huge stop to the bleeding that was the Commanders early in this game defensively. And, I mean, we were joking, but not really joking in the press box, that considering how well they were running it, why would you ever throw it? Just let Saquon keep running it, hand the ball off literally every play, but that's not really how the NFL works. You're going to have to throw it some, and Kenny Pickett gets baited into a pick by Frankie Louvu. He converts with the catch. Washington goes down and scores, and all of a sudden, you have a ball game. And without that play, who knows how this thing goes? Even if Philly goes down and kicks a field goal there, it's just a different game. And so between that, his efficacy as a rusher, the unpredictability that he brings to the Commanders' defense on 40 dropbacks for Philly quarterbacks yesterday, he was in pass coverage 19 times and rushed 21 times. You just never know where he's going to be. He had an enormous impact on this game yesterday and played very, very well.
Yeah, he did. And you talk about the interception he had. Man, that is how you bluff a blitz. Act like you're going one way, only to, set him up.
Was it I don't even think it was a blitz. Like, he bluffed to the flat.
Yeah.
And he was the hook player. So he faked that he was in man to, I think, I haven't watched the defense back on the All-22 yet. But in my head, what he does is fakes like he's in man-to-man on the back, right? So the back, he's aligned on the back. And so as the back starts to release out to the offensive right, Frankie's left, he bluffs to the left like, oh, I'm in man-to-man on the back. I'm chasing the back. But he's actually a hook player in zone, and he comes back right underneath a slant route because, slant flat is a very common quick game concept. In fact, the Commanders ran the same slant flat concept on the Eagles on the first play of the final drive. It's a 7-yard slant to Olamide Zaccheaus, and you watch Nakobe Dean, the linebacker for Philly, buzz quick to the flat. He follows the back out. Jayden lets him clear the window. Bang, hits Zaccheaus. That drive gets started with a nice 7-yard gain. Here, Pickett gets baited into it by Louvu, and it changes the entire game.
Yeah.
So, how about that for your X's and your O's?
Yes, sir.
Number 2.
How about this for your Jimmies and your Joes? Anthony picked Terry McLaurin. Man, what a catch that touchdown catch was. He has 5 for 60. And that, by the way, doesn't include the one that got negated because he had a very silly illegal motion penalty. It's a correct call. He's coming forward at the snap, which you can't do when you go in motion, and he got too far forward. So instead of about 6 for probably 78 or so. Like that was a really nice ball by Jayden, a really tight window throw, and a heck of a catch by Terry. Comes off the board. But I think on top of just the sheer production, which includes a touchdown, pretty freaking key, the energy he brings to the game. I mean, there are times that you just know, like Terry hasn't been targeted in a while. He's getting the ball, and everybody knows it's about to happen, and he still makes those into positive plays seemingly every single time.
Yeah, and also I just think, just having him involved, as you just said, the energy, the fact that he can come up for the team in a big spot, including the touchdown pad, like the rusher that hits him, essentially like he comes free. Like Zach Ertz did chip him, but Jayden Daniels,
I don't know whether Zach's supposed to chip there.
Yeah.
But if he is, that was not an A+ chip by Mr. Ertz there.
Not at all. But the fact that Jayden had, the confidence in Terry to, get to the spot where he ended up laying the ball out was just phenomenal. And it just speaks to, the chemistry that they're building, and hopefully, they'll continue to build.
Yeah, I mean, also, some of the routes that he runs, man, I know he's not seen as this incredible route runner and the precision on double stick at the top of the route, choice route. You're not going to get him on a bunch of those. I don't know if there's 5, certainly not 10 better vertical route runners in the NFL because his explosiveness with his speed and his ability to stem routes has gotten so good. And 2 examples. One is the touchdown. He stems that thing hard inside, right? Yep. So he's to the field, a.k.a. the wide side of the field, as opposed to the boundary, the narrow side. So the ball's on the right hash. Terry is lined up wide left. And he creates so much freaking space for Jayden to drop that thing in the bucket because he runs so hard at Kenyon Mitchell's inside shoulder that Mitchell just keeps going, I guess we're going inside. I guess we're going inside. I think there's going to be a post coming. I think he's going to run a dig, whether it's, a post so you're straight and then come out at a 45-degree angle high. Most people know what a post is. A dig would be like a deep in route. Your turkey bowl, hey, go run 15 yards and then turn right. You're thinking about that. And he just stems that thing inside and then bang, hits the burners outside. Is able to, also, the over-the-shoulder Willie Mays catch, that is so hard to do at full speed. He does. He gets his feet in bounds. He gets in the ends. That is masterful stuff all around. Jayden to get the air under it. There's just so much good stuff there. And then later in the game, actually, that same game-winning drive late that we were just talking about, the game-winning drive late that we were just talking about, he hits a deep comeback and is able to create so much separation, he can roll out of bounds and stop the clock. Man, he hit the Jets at step 7 or 8 and then just slams on the brakes. And you see Kenyon Mitchell, who is at one hell of a rookie year and has speed for days. You don't beat him deep very, very easily, and he is not scared by deep stuff. And you see Kenyon go, oh, God. He thinks he's going deep. And Terry sells it, and he slams on the brakes and comes back, makes a catch, rolls out of bounds, get a first down, stop the clock. A+ situational stuff from Terry McLaurin with high level of nuanced excellence in the route running. All right, number 3. That's what I said. We picked an Eagle, and we picked a good one. Zach Bond had such an enormous impact on this game, mostly to the Commanders' detriment, and then ultimately he's the guy covering Crowder at the end. Anthony, the force fumble he has on De'Ami Brown on that screenplay is bad out of hell type stuff. Zach Bond is a player. He came flying. He's on the hash, and he gets outside the numbers so fast that De'Ami barely had time to tuck the ball. Barely. Enough that it was indeed a fumble, but it was so close to being an incompletion because he got there so fast. And no one has a chance to block him on that. Just an incredible play. He has a tackle for loss in the game. He's making other plays. He's underneath, kind of turning down throws. And there's a couple times where Jayden probably has some underneath stuff, and it's on Bond's side of the field, and he's just I don't think I want to throw this because that 53 is probably lurking somewhere. And then sure enough, he goes right at him for the game winner. And I almost feel bad for Zach Bond. And if I was a Philly person, I would feel bad for Zach Bond. But I'm not. So, Zach Bond, you played a hell of a game. I'm sure you wish you had that last one back. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, again, like he was just flying everywhere, man. Everywhere. And that last play, you put him in conflict. Either he goes to the back of the end zone with Jameson or he comes under, and he chose to come under for Ertz. And
he's also just stuck because he's not as fast as Jameson.
Yeah.
Like, what's so great about that play, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow on Take Command because Logan and I are going to go deeper on some of this red zone stuff because they were magnificent in the red zone with how they manipulated defenders, is Ertz and Crowder are flipped based off where you'd plan for them to be as a defense, right? So instead of being wide receiver, slot wide receiver, tight end from outside in, it's outside receiver, which is Terry, and they've got funky splits. So Terry's got a fade that's available, and he runs it, and it might have been there if Jayden had thrown it. It would have been a contested catch, but like I trust Terry, right? But they create that space for Terry as an isolated matchup on the outside. On the inside, tight splits, you have Ertz and then Crowder inside of him. So because of that, Bond is inside of the extra defensive back, and he's over Crowder, versus if it's a traditional tight end alignment and a traditional slot receiver alignment, Bond is never on Crowder. So by that little detail being flipped, you put Bond in conflict, and the conflict is his speed versus Crowder's speed. And so he's trying to run with him full speed, which is why his back is turned. And Jamison is a vet that knows not only is my job to clear this underneath space for Zach Ertz, the way the play is designed against most coverages, and Ertz does ultimately win against Cooper DeJean and would have been open for a touchdown as well. But I have space that I can own back here. So he runs to the back line, clears the space, and bends that route around Bond, and Jayden is looking for him, and he gets the touchdown. Like, that is just tremendous design, tremendous execution by the receiver, tremendous play by the quarterback, and that's what it takes to beat a guy like Zach Bond, who's having probably a Pro Bowl level year.
Yeah, he's having a career year for sure, man.
Congrats, man. Sorry about the end.
Number 4.
All right, number 4 in our pick 6 at 6. Saquon Barkley. Whew! Looked like he was going to be incredible and just win this game single-handedly, launch himself right back to the top of the MVP race. And then the last 3 quarters happened. In the first quarter, 7 carries, 109, 2 touchdowns, including 68-yarder. His final 22 carries, 41 yards. I think multiple factors here. One, the Commanders played 35% in heavy boxes in the second half after 0% in the first half. That courtesy of Next Gen Stats. Robert Mays had that stat on the Athletic Football Show. And then Jalen not being available, as in Hurts, means that you can really key on Barkley without having to worry about, oh my God, is Jalen going to pull this? And for a guy in Saquon who's so devastating on cutbacks, backside defenders being fully committed to their gaps and fully undelayed to their gaps because they're not worried about a quarterback pulling and a play action boot situation or a zone read situation. That's the difference in being able to shut down Barkley and not. And so Saquon's incredible, but you see why Derrick Henry is having a career year with Lamar Jackson, why Saquon's having a career year with Jalen Hurts. Quarterbacks in the running game are so helpful. And once that went away, Saquon, even though the Philly offensive line is great, even though Saquon is unbelievable and deservedly a top 3 MVP candidate, you see the limitations of that position when a defense could really, really key on it because all of a sudden it's Kenny Pickett playing quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can just speak to the job the defense did. So I think they had a mixed bag, but in terms of just like limiting him, stopping him, and also making sure we game tackled him,
yes,
I think they did a phenomenal job because it's hard to just bring them down with one person. We had 2-3 hats on them every time, and that's how we stopped Saquon.
And they sure as you know what did. They gang tackled. Quinn talked about that after the game. That's a good pull as well. And all right, last 2 in our pick 6.
Number 5.
De'Ami Brown, who I said they're going to need some explosive plays from. And De'Ami did not have like the most incredible statistical game. And in fact, he almost was a good call on a pick 6 because of a bad thing that happened to him, which was that fumble that Zach Bond forced. But one of the key plays of the game, Commanders get the ball at their own 4-yard line, and on first down, Jayden is like, we're letting it rip. Cliff is like, we're letting it rip. And De'Ami Brown turns Darius Slay inside out on a deep ball. It's just a straight go, and he stems it a little bit inside, creates space, does a great job of tracking it. Again, Jayden, the trajectory of that ball is so good. It's high. Diame runs underneath it, catches it, 51-yard gain. He only had 5 yards on 3 catches otherwise. Screen game was not as effective. Obviously, the one that he fumbles. But that play was huge. And also, you see on some of the other key plays, like perimeter screens, things like that, he was good as a blocker, as per usual in this game. So you had to find the other plays from somewhere. Obviously, OZ has the 2 touchdowns. Crowder has the 2 touchdowns. But Diame also played a role. And I think without Noah Brown, they're going to have to do it by committee. Diame Brown, important part of the committee.
Number 6.
Last but not least, special teams, Anthony. And hilariously, you said the kicking operation, which was flawless in this game. Nice job. You mentioned even Tress Way and their ability to pin it deep. Turns out the most important part of the special teams was the part you didn't mention. Luke McCaffrey in the field position on the kick returns. Let's give it up for Luke, everybody. Hey!
Luke went crazy yesterday. And again, I think that was one of the keys to the game anyway, in terms of, having good field position. And he did a phenomenal job. He had 6 kickoff return opportunities, and he had averaged about 30 yards. I think his long was 47. But if Luke is going to give us this production, because this is what Austin Eckler was doing, if he's going to do that, we're going to be positioned well for, these next 2 games.
Well, then it also becomes like, well, if this is who he is, should we use him the other ways we used Eckler? True. Think back to training camp. Remember there was a couple times we were waiting on interviews, including one with Luke, and we had to wait because who was he working with?
The running backs.
He was working with Anthony Lynn to understand blocking angles and understand, hey, if I ever get like a jet sweep, like I want to know how to hit it. I want to know how to read it. And obviously we know his brother's a running back. Not that I'm saying, hey, we need another position switch from Luke McCaffrey, because he's built a lot more like his dad than his brother, right? Ed McCaffrey, the all-everything receiver. Is he in the Hall of Fame? Might be. I think he's just in the Ring of Honor in Denver, but multiple time Super Bowl champion wide receiver with the Broncos back in the day, as opposed to Christian, who's got like 4.3 track speed, right? But he had a 13-yard screen yesterday that he ran really well. So can you put him in the backfield and do some things? Can you get him to more balls on screens? Like, find ways to diversify the offense, and I think getting the ball in Luke McCaffrey's hands in easy ways, as opposed to making him run routes down the field, as he's still learning how to do that at an NFL level, might just be worth exploring for Cliff and company. That is our Pick 6. Tomorrow's edition of the Pick 6 will be unusual for a Tuesday, because typically we actually don't do a Pick 6 on Tuesday. So the fact that it's happening at all is going to be different. But tomorrow, Jayden Daniels and Dan Quinn will speak, because they're giving the players Christmas Day off. So we will get you the top headlines of the day tomorrow at 6 o'clock. When we get back, one-on-one with Commanders receiver Jameson Crowder, there's probably a joke about how it went better than it did for Zach Bond in here, but I'm not going to do that. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Last night after the game in the Commanders' locker room, got the chance to catch up one-on-one with the man who caught the game-winning touchdown, Jameson Crowder. Here we go.
Craig Hoffman with Jameson Crowder in the Commanders' locker room, catcher of the game-winning touchdown play. Congratulations, and take us through the play if you could.
Yeah, I appreciate that first and foremost. Man, it was just a play, man, that we have in our, kind of red area, red zone package. And like I said, man, we ran it Friday and practiced on our fast Friday, and Jayden hit me on the same pass. So we got the same look today, and it came to fruition. Just how we practiced it in practice. So, I just got on the other side of that backer, and I knew once I, cleared him, I just had to turn and look for the ball, and it was there.
What's it like playing with a guy like that where if I do my job, ball's coming my way?
It makes the job easier. I felt like I played okay today. I had a drop, on the sideline that I should have caught. But playing with a guy like that, it just makes my job easier. And then obviously I try to make his job vice versa, with all the receivers. Once you have a guy that can deliver passes and put it where it needs to be, it just makes it that much easier.
I've been covering you since you got here, 2015. Your first year was actually my first year covering the team, and it's been cool to kind of see that route up. And you had such a good start your rookie year, battled some injuries, wind up leaving. Now you're back. How often do you reflect on the journey, or is it only when people like me ask you about it?
I reflect on it a lot, man. It's crazy because right before that last drive, I told myself, I've been here before. I remember 2015, we had a similar game, and Pierre Garçon caught the game-winning touchdown at the end against Philly in the same end zone. And so as I took the field, that's why I kind of told myself, I've been here before, a game-winning drive against Philly. And it happened, man. It just so happened I was the one to catch it today. So, but yeah, a lot of times I reflect on some of those, some of those days, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, some of those games. But I'm just glad to be back, man, and be a part of it now, man. And, we still got some big games coming up, and we got to get ready and prepare.
Any extra reflection going back to 80 versus 83? Took me by surprise for a second. I was like, whoa. That's the old Jameson Crowder.
Last year I was trying to get back in the 80, man, and the guy we had in 80, he wasn't trying to give it up. So, I was able to get back in the number 80 this year. So, very thankful for that, man.
Needless to say, the process today was not how you guys would draw it up with the 5 turnovers. What are the conversations like on the sideline to just keep going?
You just got to stay in it. It's a long game. Obviously, man, when you have those turnovers and things don't go your way, it's tough. But it's a long game. You got to tell yourself to keep battling. As tough as it, as easy as it seems, it's easier said than done. When you have a mistake and, you just think about, a good Philly team, you kind of put yourself in a hole like that. But at the same time, you got to just keep battling. And we did that offensively, defensively, and especially kept battling and was able to get the win.
And especially the last turnover is that the throw where Jayden comes back across the field trying to look for Luke. Did it feel like that was it, or was there something kind of inside you where you're like, we're going to get another shot at this?
Well, no. We knew that we could. We knew the defense had to go out there and make a stop. That once that turnover happened, it was like, hey, defense, we put y'all in a hole, but y'all go out there and have our back. And obviously they was able to make that stand and was able to get another shot to go down that 2 minutes.
Last thing I'll ask you about, or last guy I want to ask you about is Terry, because you saw him as a very young player. He was obviously pretty great instantly, but to see him grow today, he ties the single-season touchdown record. He's got 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. What makes that guy special?
This is work ethic, just seeing him, every day, man, coming in and working. A guy of his caliber, coming in and not taking any days off. You see what he does behind the scenes and why it pays off, on Sunday. And he came in as soon as I left. So, I was still, was watching the Redskins organization at the time. And obviously, man, he's been a baller since day one. And I'm just glad to, be out there and be playing alongside him.
Jameson, congratulations. Great to see you back in the end zone. Great to see you having so much success.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's been a long road for Jameson Crowder in so many ways. A long short road and a long road. Detour this year with that injury that he had. And, there's a reason that they kept him around. There's a reason that they decided that through the injury, they could have just easily reached an injury settlement and moved on. But I think they knew hey, this is a guy that could definitely help our punt return game. And he has been an upgrade, I think, over Olamide Zaccheaus. Not a huge upgrade, but a little bit of an upgrade over OZ. He's a guy that we know is a veteran, just is savvy, kind of knows how to get open in short areas. He doesn't have long speed. He never was like a big, explosive down-the-field player, but in short areas and an offense that didn't really have a quick twitch kind of guy, that there might be a role for him. And it was going to depend on how the season played out. KJ Osborne, we spent a bunch of time on him because he was signed right after Noah Brown was let go, and he's had some real production in his career, and he winds up being inactive. Part of the reason why is because they don't want to lose out on a guy like Crowder. Luke McCaffrey, proves his value on special teams, and it's like, well, where exactly are we going to put Osborne? We're going to have 7 receivers up? Like, no, we're not going to do that. And so we'll see if Diami is unable to go. He went out late in that game. I think he'll probably be okay, but we'll find out, I guess, tomorrow. We'll see what he is on the injury report, and then obviously Thursday get a much better read on it. But they've still got Osborne in reserve. They're still ramping him up in terms of everything, but Crowder's earned it. And for a guy that, he could be doing this anywhere, right? He could be doing this for Sean in L.A., for Kevin in Minnesota, and for it to be the place where he was drafted, where he had the best years of his career, where he saw his career start to derail because he just could not stay healthy. But to find it, to be in these moments, in a place that is familiar at a different stage of his life, like he's married, he's got kids, as opposed to being I know he looked like he was 50 years old when he got drafted and still does. Hasn't aged today. It's just that he looks like he's 50. He got that old man-ness to him. But to see him go from a young man in his early 20s, and it's funny because for me, it's a parallel journey in some ways. Where when I met Jamison 10 years ago, I was a 26-year-old, or 8 years ago, I was a 26-year-old beat reporter, fresh on the scene to DC, and now I'm a 34-year-old, nearly 35-year-old talk show host who's been doing this for a decade here, and to see guys grow up, there's always going to be, no matter how long I do this, something special I think about the group of players that, for lack of a better way to phrase it, not to make this about me, but just to kind of explain why I think this is so cool from my particular seat, is I grew up with these guys in some way. And I'm married now, he's married now, he's got kids. I don't have kids yet, but to see that parallel journey, I think is really cool. And to while I've stayed here, to watch him go all around and come all the way back. And I'm sure everybody's got that to an extent. Like the guys that, you went to college with, right? That were on the basketball team that made the league, or the football players that you went to college with, that you had class with, that made the league. There's always something a little bit different, a little bit special about that versus the guys that, if I'm getting to this point in my life where these are all kids now coming in, and I'm a lot older than they are, and it's just a different thing. And so it's been cool to see JC have that success, and I appreciate his time in the locker room last night. When we get back, the NFL has done something that's probably good for most people, but is bad for a very certain group of people, and I would like to stand up for that certain group of people next on the Team 980. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. And we'll get to real things in just a second, let you know what else is coming up on the show. But I have one more thing I'd like to get to, because there was a funny moment, admittedly, that happened earlier in the show, Anthony, when we were talking about how we need help with tailgate information for folks, because we want to crash some tailgates on Sunday before the Sunday Nighter and make it a part of our big vlog. And we would also like to have Competition Wednesday be some hot wings that are prepared by someone out there listening, one of our listeners who would like to set mine or Anthony's mouth on fire, something we'll find out during tomorrow's show. I was like, this is very easy from a timing standpoint, because the 4 o'clock games are booty. And we looked it up, and I was like, yeah, there was 2 terrible games. And you're like, one of them is Vikings-Packers. And I was like, that was not what – when I looked at the schedule and did our first impression selection show on YouTube this morning, where Tony Squares and I pick every NFL game against the spread a week in advance because we're idiots, that was not the case. And like, I knew it wasn't the case because Tony's a Packers fan. Like, we would have talked about that game more than almost any other. It's outside of the Commanders-Falcons game, and even, frankly, including the Commanders-Falcons game. That's the best game of the weekend. And I was like, that was not the game. And so I scrolled up, and I was like, no, it was Cowboys-Eagles. And sure enough, in the break, I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, no, that is what happened. It was Cowboys-Eagles, and they flexed that game out 4 hours ago. So sometime around like 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon, they flexed that game from 1 to 4, and the Cowboys-Eagles game from 4 to 1. And for the national television audience, that's a good thing. Vikings, Packers, huge playoff implications. If the Packers win tonight, they're already in, but like that game has a bearing on the 1 seed in the NFC North Division crown. It has a bearing on the Commanders' ability to jump the Packers for the 6th seed, which would change their first round opponent from likely Detroit, Minnesota, or Philly to the Rams or Seahawks. And it's just a better football game, as considering Dallas is starting Cooper Rush, all due respect, he's been playing pretty well, and the Eagles might be starting Kenny Pickett. But here's the thing, Anthony. If you are a season ticket holder or someone who generally just bought tickets to that game, and you say booked a flight so that you could go to the game and then get to the airport afterwards and get out of town, or your parents that planned on going to that game and you set up childcare so that you could go have an adult's day at the football stadium, your plans are now just gone. And there's been a ton of write-ups on this year because there's been more games flexed, not just from like times, but from Saturday to Thursday with 2 weeks notice. And if you were planning on going to that game from out of town and you fly in because you're a fan that's an out-of-town fan, like that blows. That's terrible. And of all people, John Mara, the Giants owner, warned of this a couple years ago when he voted against the ability to flex games more frequently. And it's just a reminder that the NFL is, above all, a television product. And while the most diehard of fans, the ones who make the game what it is in person, are the ones that actually, go to the games and set the atmosphere that makes it so much more enjoyable to watch on television. And those are your hometown fans, the people that are your most should be taken care of. The NFL thinks of you second. They just do. Because you don't do this a week out. You don't do this close to a game if you actually care about the people who bought tickets. And whether that's Eagles fans or Cowboys fans who are going to this game in Philadelphia, NFL just is like, hope you can make it work. And that's terrible. I hate that so much. And I think it has also, while in the short term, it is what it is. In the long term, I think that hurts your business.
Yeah, it definitely does stink, especially like somebody like me who cover college football, and I fly down, I fly back, and it has to be scheduled like well in advance. Or even when I go to boxing events, like I had gone to Houston for the Gervonta Tank David fight, and they end up canceling it. But now I'm in Houston because I already got my Airbnb booked, I got my flight booked. And now I'm forced
They don't
to
care. Like in the airlines and the Airbnbs and the hotels, they don't care about that.
No, they don't.
Hey, like the reason I came got canceled. Sorry, sucks to be you.
Yeah, that's annoying, man. I feel bad for. I mean, granted, like I hope it's a good game, but at the same token, like you got to take people into account as well. Like when they schedule months, weeks in advance, and some people put their whole life savings like into like going to a game like this because that's the only one that they can make it to a kind of.
Yeah, I hope it's not their whole life savings. Maybe it's like,
life savings is crazy.
They're extra. I don't know that you're wrong, but it's like your extra, your, what is it called? The disposable income budget. Yeah. Like you spend it on this. And, especially if you're a Vikings-Packers, if that's your game, right? Like if you are flying from Milwaukee to Minnesota or even making that drive, to do that for a 1 o'clock game is one thing. To be like, oh, I guess I'm going to get back to Wisconsin at midnight and try to go to work on Monday. Like, nah, it's just, it's brutal. So the switch there, I mean, yeah, it's just not cool. All right, that's the show. Do we have any time for real things today?
We have about a minute and 15 seconds.
Let's see if we can do a real things thing.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Set into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
All right, you might have seen this yesterday, and I'm almost sure that you did. Jared Goff and the play-action fake, which I'm going to call the Stumble-Rooski. Here was Jahmyr Gibbs on the acting job he had to do.
I think they played the Packers a couple weeks ago, and Jordan Love he fumbled the snap actually, and I don't think they meant to do that, but the same thing happened. Who's their tight end? Kraft. Yeah, he ran the same thing, same ran. It was the exact same thing, but we just made it a real play, actually stumbling. So me and Jared tried to sell the fake fumble or whatever, and hope the defense would freeze up what they did. So.
How much did you practice that?
Probably 4 times this week.
It's amazing. I love it so much. All right, that's our show. We'll see you tomorrow for a jam-packed Tuesday edition